Hey, hope you're doing well. Steve Weaver here. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about really helping AI to be able to sound like you, or to, let's say, to write much more like you. Um, so I was having a conversation with Carol. She's one of the members of my community, and she does product management. She's doing product management related things. And one of the things that came up just in our conversation that where AI she thought could help her was in just email, because she just really doesn't like writing email. And that's one of the things that I talk about in the 7-day challenge, is like sometimes rather than finding the highest value thing, it can just be finding the thing which you like, which sucks. It's like have AI do the work you don't like doing, makes your life easier and nicer, but you still want a good result out of it, because you don't want to do work, poor work. And so she was saying she just really doesn't like writing emails for whatever reason, that's just something she doesn't enjoy. So I was saying okay, yeah, that makes sense. So when we take this approach, kind of the core of what we're trying to do with the approach, which is to build up a set of to build up context for whatever things that you're working on. Email is a really good one, but it's also a more difficult one, because it's usually, emails are typically personal to an individual. And unless you're dealing with marketing emails, what she was talking about was replying to people, and just that the kind of the typical stuff that you might get quite a few things on. And the joke that people are all making it now with AI is okay, my AI reads the email and sends it to another AI who reads it and summarizes, you summarize what you want, it writes a long email, the other AI gets it, and then summarizes what you got in there. So it's would have been better just to send the summary. So going in that direction, you still want it to seem like you, because still for the most part people are assuming that you're actually writing your emails, and but if you don't like it, then so how do you get it so that AI will write similar to with your voice? And I think this is a really, really typical challenge. I think the main thing is well, how do I get it to just kind of sound like me? And the approach for this is very similar to what I teach in the 7-day course. Just because I typically think better while I'm drawing about something. But so typically what we're talking about is to be able to organize your the context that are related to whatever task. So in this kind of case, the task is an email, and that's going to go out to an individual person. But most of the people, when they're doing when they're working with an AI to try to get it to write like them, you typically ask it that write like me. And you may even give an example, you might just have an example of a past email that you've written, and you might give it that and say write like me. But you almost never get you're almost never going to get a good result like that. That's typically a way to just get something which might be where you might occasionally get something you're happy with, but a lot of times where you're going to get something where you just have to revise it a lot. And it's a start to getting to the right solution, but it's not the right solution. So what you really need for this kind of thing is that you need to be able to give AI a number of different things. And again, this goes back to to what I'm saying on this one over and over, is that the number of things that you need in terms of context is usually a lot larger than you think in order to get a consistent result. Especially where different people are using different models, of course, different frontier models, whether you're using Grok or Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, or Mistral. So all of those different models might have different also, you might be using the free version, you might be using a paid version, or you might be using a thinking version, you might be using an older version. And so you're going to get a wide variety of outputs. And you might, at home, you might be using a free version of ChatGPT, or you might be paying for it, but at work they might be using Claude or something. So that when you try it in one place versus the other, you get very different results with it, because the model is trained on different information, so hence you get different data. So to do this just from the email perspective, so I would encourage you to follow along in this example and do the things here. So the first thing, it is a good idea to start with an email that you like, Now, you don't need to use a recent one. You just need to find one that has a little bit longer. You don't want to do just like a single sentence. It's not helpful. If all your emails are single sentence, then you can just tell it like just to answer in a single sentence, and that'll be easier. But if you're like actually answering with like a paragraph or two, or a couple sentences, you want to find something that's actually longer than that. That you feel like, just get into your Outlook or whatever, your Gmail, whatever you're using at work. And just look back through the things that you've sent maybe over the last 6 months or something, and look for something which is a bit longer and that you feel that is like reasonably written. You're really not looking for like the beautiful mail. You don't want to spend like a ton of time on this one. It's not like to get that email is not really the most important part. We'll come to the most important part in a minute. So if you can do one, okay, you must do at least one. But it'd be better for you to do 3 or 4 emails that are like that you're reasonably happy with how you wrote them. Best that you don't use an email that AI wrote that you like, because it's before long it's not you. And then you just like let AI do whatever it wants. But here the idea is we want to get AI to sound like you and to be at least a little closer to it. And so you want things that you actually wrote. Now, those are going to be helpful because they're going to be examples of things. Now, when you look at those, you do want to just make a little note in a text document, and I'll cover this in another video at some point. Like, you always want to be using Markdown. It's a very easy text format. It's like it just is really well structured and simple to use. But you're just going to create a Markdown document, and you're going to start putting some bullet points here of like what it is about that email, like both the things that you like about it, like why you chose it. Very, very briefly. Again, don't write paragraphs on this. Even if you have to like do a voice memo and just talk through it, or a video or something. But you want to just get to very simple bullet points, because this is not like the core thing. So the next thing, which is really the core thing of this, is you need to find some piece of writing that you've done that's quite long, that has like at least a few pages, like 2 pages would be ideal. With some jobs, like I know when I was working at Sony back in the day, like I did a number of reports like and presentations. So I didn't write a very dense text very often. Like the big majority of the writing that I did back when I was there would be emails. Like that was like when I was really going into something. So it might be that the longer writing that you've done is in an email. That's totally possible. Nowadays, it's not always that you're like writing big reports or that you're really having to like do some detailed document. Hopefully at your office they do require you to do some kind of like direction documents, manuals, like something which requires you to do like a good amount of writing. Stay away from marketing. Like we're not doing marketing right now. Stay away from things which are more flowery, or more like they kind of like are made for the external customer, where they've been through copywriters or editors or things like that. You just want your writing. I've written quite a bit on Quora, and I've got a number of things that I actually like on there. A ton of stuff I don't really like and I'm not really interested in, but a bunch of things that I think, oh, I like that. I think that was like well written. It was like nice and had some of the ways that I say things. And so that getting at least one of those, if you have 2, even better. So those let's say 4 to 6 things are going to add as examples. So you create a folder in your directory inside your computer. Call it email, and then under that call examples. So you've got like the main structure, which is called emails, and that can be under like an AI context folder, or however you organize things. And then underneath that, you're just going to put examples. So that's going to help you to just to know that that's what they are, and then you want to save those again in Markdown that ends in .md, and or it can be .markdown, but MD is easier. And like if you need some example on how to do that, you can also just copy paste those emails into something like Google Documents, and then they have an export option to export as Markdown. So you can kind of like fix it up from a formatting standpoint and then just export it as Markdown. So you've got your examples. Now, what you're going to do with those examples is you're going to take those examples and you're going to load not the emails, but the longer writing pieces. You're going to actually like load those up into whatever AI, doesn't matter, whatever one that you prefer. I think for this, there's not one that's better than another in particular. You don't need something that's super smart. You don't need thinking on this. You just need to kind of be able to go back and forth on the piece of writing. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take that writing, you're going to feed it into the AI, and you're going to ask it to describe the writing for you. And this part is really the important part, is because the description that it does for you, what you want to do is get an output which is going to be like half a page, like kind of 10 lines or something about how to describe how you write. And there might be differences between what it says and what you think about your writing. But I think a lot of people, you probably have never done this before. You may have kind of like gotten in the direction, but you probably haven't really gotten through and really thought about like exactly what is my writing style. Like for me, I write in a very direct way. I'm American, but I live in Europe, so I have to kind of be a little bit more careful about how direct I am and about how well I describe things or how much detail I go into things. I think generally what you're looking for is so you can describe your writing in a way that then the AI is going to be able to make useful for the future writing. So it needs to be, the descriptions of how you write need to be specific enough and concrete enough that the AI can then use that for the later writing it's going to do. So you're really looking at that and trying to say, okay, do I agree with it? Is it what I'm looking for? It maybe is the fact of how you write, but it might not be exactly how you want it to be. Other things you want it to ask inside of it is what mistakes do you typically make? Because one of the telltale signs that something is written by AI, first of all, like there are a lot of them, but some of the things is just that the way that it writes is usually like very complete, and it usually writes like too much. It's typically too verbose. It typically kind of like tries to be a bit too formal in it. There's a number of things which can give it away, but often the language is just way too clean for what any person would do. And your writing is, even if you're happy with it, it's probably some part of it just because it's not so clean, because it's things that you said that you thought like, oh, that was clever, or that was nice, or okay, it's a nice way I phrase things. So you're really looking to get it to first you're looking for the overall way that you write, but then you're looking for what mistakes do you make? How do you say things which is not very typical? If you find spelling mistakes, like I grew up, like my mom, she used to say irregardless, and like I didn't realize that was like not correct way to say it. And I'm sure there's still other things that I say that I don't even realize that I'm not saying correctly. And that one is just one that like it took me a while to kind of actually realize, oh, that's not the proper word there, and so then to change it with regardless. And so that would have been something that the AI might point out to me and say, oh, you typically use irregardless, even though that's like, not the correct usage of it. But that's good, because that's you, that's who you are, and that was me, and that was what I was doing, and that would like help to make people think that's written by me and not by AI. And that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for things which are going to make it much more authentic, and to not just like strip out all of the things which are nice about it. Because like, this is a topic I really need to go into, I think, in some depth, because I've been thinking about it for quite a long time. So I'll just make like a little, detour on it. When we look at AI and we look at like it's you're passing off work that most people will think is done by you, and you're looking to try to make it to be not done by you. And it's like, is that deceptive? Like, are you out to fool people? Like, to some extent, yes. Like, I guess to some extent we say that, but it's only because like these are, I think, fairly new things that AI can do. I mean, it's a bit silly, but like if you take like a marker and you think, okay, I use a tool to do something. So is that somehow deceptive? Well, no, because people realize that we're not actually like mixing all the colors ourselves and pouring them on the page. We use something which helps us get to something else. We're still directing what's drawing in here, but we use something in the meantime for it. And I've seen that more and more, like a designer, for example, like they no longer are using their hands or things like that. They're able to take an image and completely change it and Photoshop it. And there's like that line between there, which is like, yeah, we know we use tools to be able to like adjust images and make designs and create things that we could never do in a physical world with our physical tools, but now with like digital tools, we can do so much more. And AI means that we can do even further of things which would be completely impossible even with just like our normal digital tools. So it's like that line between things of like using the tool to get to some result, because in your head is the email that you're drafting to somebody, is it like really fully formed at the minute like that you sit down to write it? Well, usually not. You've got an idea that you want to get across, and then you have to use these very clumsy things called words to like get the idea across. And so you get writing, and you might spend an hour on this to try to like really get it to be exactly what you want and then send it out. So if AI can get that idea out and can get it like formulated for you so that when you read it, you're like, yeah, that's actually really well done. And then the other person gets it and they get that idea closer to what you had in your mind, then actually that's kind of the goal. The more we would like is to just remove having to fumble with these things which are very imprecise and difficult, and get to something that can help us to communicate or to relate, or to help someone have a very close approximation of what was meant in your head. And that's the same across artwork, as the same across almost all of these areas. You've got ideas, you have things inside your head, you try to realize it using the tools that you have, and then you send it across and try to hope the other person then receives it as closely as possible as you imagined it. So I think it can be deceptive. There's certainly a line inside of there. If you're trying to pass it off and you tell people that like you didn't use AI, then you're just lying. But if you're telling people, yeah, well, I just feel like AI can help me get much closer to the idea that I originally had, then it's like, yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly what it does, and I like that. And from, let's say, one further idea on that is that if you're in a company and you're a senior manager, if you're an executive, if you're the CEO of a company or whatever, or at different levels, you're like, most of the time, the realization of all of the things that you're trying to do anyway are done by somebody else. They're done by a person, and you just continue to like try to communicate what you're after. So if you have a vision for the company and the vision for the customer experience and the vision for the marketing, and you're just like, then you have like a senior marketing person whose job it is to try to like take that vision and like translate it into all these different assets, then it's like, and then you come back and look at it and you're like, no, it's not really, you're not really getting it. Like, let's try again and work on that. The AI is just exactly the same thing. It's just trying to understand what exactly is in your head, and the more that it can kind of like peek in under the hood, so to speak, then the more the closer it can get to what that vision, to realize that vision. So I think it's a fine line. I'm totally in favor of it. I have been since it's come out. I use it often, but I don't try to pass it off as if I'm not using it. And I'm just trying to like make it, to get it to be as closely as I can to how I would like to see those things done. So let's just finish up with this. Like, so if you've done a good job of getting that document that will tell you, that tells AI like what exactly your writing is like, if you have 4 or 5 telltale signs that it's actually you, which are the misspellings, the phrases that you use, the kind of like little mistakes, or the things that are specific to your writing, and you've got a few examples of actual emails in the past, then usually, if you pass all those in at the beginning of a chat or put them in the project files, you typically will get a very good result. And that's going to be probably enough to get emails to be written very close to you, very, very close to how your style is. You can go further with it, and remember, like, the thing that I teach inside our 7-day challenge is really the most important points are, getting the number of context documents that are going to help you in place. But really the refinement stage is where like these things are you're really gonna get it to be where you want it to be. It's just like, you can't just pass it in and then say like, okay, I'm done. It's just that you pass it in, you get a version, you send it out, and then the next email that you need to write, you go back through and you try to look and see what it didn't hit. And then from there, you're gonna just like continue to refine either the examples or the instructions of like what is your style of writing, and then over time, like as that improves, by the 5th or 6th version, it's going to really like be able to lock in very well what your style is. So I hope that's helpful. I'm sure that will actually be helpful. If you'll follow that, it will be helpful. This is really like the core of kind of every area that you're working on, is to try to like get this really dialed in for everything that you're doing, everything that AI can help you on. So if you'd like help with that, if you want more insight, if you want to work with me directly on figuring this out for many different areas, or if you have a company and you would like to help get this context to give it to the employees so they're really using the right context and not wasting their time, tons of time in AI, come over and join the school community, and yeah, get in touch, and I'll be happy to work with you. All right, bye.